But for now, we have started the recording. Good morning, guys. I hope you guys are having a beautiful, amazing day. It is an unplanned stream, but today we'll be reading more Lord of Mysteries, chapter 396. I know right here, A Cloudy World is a new guy. He's a new viewer. He's coming from Shadow Slave. So if there's any Shadow Slave people watching that are staying for Lord of Mysteries, hello, hi. How are you? We're mostly reading Lord of Mysteries right now, but we'll be reading more Shadow Slave in between streams and uploads. That one, I'm going to take it at my own pace, because I know that one's like 2,000 plus chapters. So I don't want to get too overwhelmed just yet with two series that are like 2,000 plus chapters. But for now, Lord of Mysteries. Chapter 396 is called Pure Light. What? Pure Light what? Pure Light Brotherhood. Chapter 390... What did I say? Chapter 396, Pure Light Brotherhood. After returning to the real world, Force sat at her desk, lost herself and thought about the Abraham family for a while. She had a whole new understanding of a few words mentioned in the mysticism notebook she had. So that's how it was. It's no wonder Miss Aulisa didn't wish to inform Mr. Lawrence of her and her husband's death. Now that I think about it, the Abraham family is really pitiful and sad. Force muttered a few sentences to herself before rummaging and taking out the sights in the spirit world from a pile of ordinary books in preparation to copy the first and second chapters. For this, she entered cogitation and adjusted her breathing in order to be in her optimal condition. Otherwise, just copying the contents of the sights and spirit world would bring her mania and confusion. The worlds clearly didn't have any spirituality, but once they were combined together to describe those ridiculous scenes, it was as if they had the ability to affect her emotions. I need to take a 5-minute break after every 5 minutes of copying it. I don't want to lose control because of this. Force took out her small intrinsic pocket watch and placed it diagonally in front of her desk. And the okay. Oh, gee. What's this debate slander I'm seeing in the chat? In the Berg household in the city, I like the manhwa. In the Berg household in the city of Silver, Derrick woke up as a flash of lightning which illuminated everything flashing in her eyes. He looked around, but he didn't feel like he was being monitored. But the hangman's precise description of the prior events through reasoning and his deep confidence convinced him that his conjecture was correct and that there had to have been one of the more beyonders with particular powers that were secretly monitoring him at this very moment. Besides, Mr. Fool didn't deny it. Derrick got out of bed and stretched his body like he usually did. During this process, the analysis and suggestions that the hangman had given him rapidly surfaced in his mind. Up until now, no one has come looking for you or has chosen to throw you into the dungeons. That's enough to tell you that the chief and the other elders of the 6-member council are still leaning towards observing. They wish to find a way of evacuating the entire city of Silver out of the Forsaken Lands through Amon. Wait, what? They wish to find a way of evacuating the entire city of Silver out of the Forsaken Lands through Amon, the first person they've encountered in more than 2,000 years. So if you don't do anything out of line, they definitely wouldn't rouse you so that Amon wouldn't notice anything amiss. As such, your surveillance wouldn't be too close physically, at least not when you're awake. And because of this, they probably didn't discover that you've already coughed out the worm of time. I'm so confused what this is like. I don't like, why is it called Worm of Time? Oh wait, hold up. I'm thinking out loud. Don't say why. Don't tell me why it's called Worm of Time. But I want to know why, right? There's subsequent, like, I don't know, like he's gonna be able to go back in time, go forward in time. I don't know. Like you consume more than one worm a time. Their subsequent reactions are enough to indirectly prove this similarity. They should only be able to observe what kind of ritual you held, but they wouldn't be able to figure out who you're praying to. If it were me, I would definitely suspect that it was related to Amon. Due to the above reasons, you can openly hold a bestowment ritual. After all this, you can push the blame onto Amon. Of course, you have to pretend to be sufficiently cautious and careful. You have to be prepared to undergo the examination of psychoanalysis and other beyonders of sequences when everything is over. Regarding this matter, you can seek Mr. Fool for help. With the hangman's suggestion, Derrick walked around the table twice, carefully closed the windows, lit the candle, and set up a bestowment ritual. Above the gray fog, within the towering ancient palace, Klein was staring idly at the stone pillars that supported the dome, feeling that the building he had willed resembled an Athens temple? Is it because of my own subconscious his thoughts wandered? At that moment, the dark red star corresponding to the sun began to emit light and quickly dispersed the ripplings to form an illusory and mysterious door. Above the gray fog, a small amount of power was stirred up as it flowed like water. Upon hearing the stacked pleas, Klein lowered his head and looked at the all-black eye placed in front of him. Let's hope little son doesn't lose this, otherwise Mr. World would have to be a glorious... Otherwise, Mr. Full would have to be gloriously sacrificed. So, if he loses it, he's gonna kill World in front of everybody. Okay. It was precisely because he had the all-black eye that Klein wasn't a nimble right master could secretly control the world as a fake person, allowing him to act as if he was made of flesh and blood. Oh. So that would be like his characteristic. Oh, it was... Oh, I get it. It was precisely because he had the all-black eye that Klein, who wasn't a nimble right master, could secretly control the world as a fake person, allowing him to act as he was made of flesh and blood. Once the item was lost, he would have to let the world die to prevent the magic from getting exposed. While sighing... Oh, wait, no, never mind. While sighing, Klein emanated his spirituality, straying the power of the fog into the flowing towards the illusionary door, forcefully pushing it open, slightly stabilizing the transmission channel. Soon after, he placed the all-black eye into the iron box and threw it into the gap of the mysterious tower. He casually said, "Do not touch the item inside." After doing all this, he didn't stay any longer because he knew that Little Sung wouldn't be able to find an opportunity to take action that quickly, and he was unsure when Mr. Jishin would be able to finish the copying the 2 chapters of Sights in the Spirit World. Relaxing his spirituality, Klein's figure disappeared from the space above the gray fog, and the Berg household in the city of Silver. As soon as Derrick saw an iron-black box on the altar, he heard Mr. Fool's familiar voice, "Do not touch the item inside. Do not touch." Derrick made a note of this reminder and decided to carry it out of a tree. After thanking Mr. Fool and the world, Okay, we're good. Do not touch the item inside. Do not touch. Derrick made a note of this reminder and decided to carry it out to a tree. After thanking the Fool and Mr. World and ending the bestowment ritual, he opened the box with extraordinary care and examined the contents. It was a completely black eye without a pupil, just looking at it threw his mind into chaos, and his thoughts became sluggish, faint, indistinct, and seemingly crazy. Ravings sounded in his ear. After a sudden shiver ran through his body, Derrick closed the lid of the iron box, picked up a silver dagger, and completely sealed the iron box with a wall of spirituality. Then he put the iron box into a secret pocket of the inside of his clothes, fixed the axe of Hurricane in place, and left the room, heading straight for the training field. The exploration team members were still under the disguised quarantine. However, Derrick had no plans to take action today. He carefully followed Mr. Hangman's instructions and planned to observe the situation first and patiently wait for an opportunity. Of course, if there was a good opportunity, he would have to act decisively. Upon entering the training field, Derrick circled around the exploration team's area and saw that they were gathering in groups of 2 or 3, whispering to each other, but once they noticed that someone was watching, they would immediately stop and stand there in silence. At times, they would take a few steps, like zombies that had just crawled out of the darkness. What would they do if I remove the wall of spirituality now and allow them to sense the feelings emanated by Mr. World's item? Will they turn their heads at the same time to look at me? Derrick imagined the scene of everyone turning their heads to looking at him with cold, emotionless eyes, and he felt a baffling, indescribable fear. He drew a breath and told himself to be patient, to wait, and not to panic. City of Silver at the top of the spire in a room that belonged to the chief. Demon hunter Colin Iliad, who was resting his mind with his eyes closed, looked towards a dark corner. A human figure? A human figure stood up from the ground with a twisted posture. It swayed slightly and said with a voice that sounded like a metal abrasions, "Your Excellency, Derrick Berg has held another ritual." Oh, this was the guy watching him. Oh, I remember him. Sorry, I know my mic is spiked. Oh, wow, my audio is so loud. Hold on, I'm gonna turn down a bit. This is the guy that was watching Derrick when he went above the gray fog. Yeah, I remember him. You guys were scaring me like he's not safe, man. You guys were trying to scare me, and I'm like, no, they're probably just observing him. Right here. Your Excellency, Derrick Berg has held another ritual. According to my observation, it's likely to be a bestowment request ritual. It's very similar to the sacrificial rituals we usually hold, but what's different is that he received a response and was given an iron black box. I couldn't exactly see what was inside, but it gave me a very evil and dangerous feeling. Shit, okay. At this point, the shadow urgently pleads, "Your Excellency, it's definitely directed by that mysterious person. We have to take action and not let this continue unheeded. Otherwise, Derrick Burke will summon an evil god or a similar existence sooner or later, destroying the entire city of Silver." Colin's expression became unusually grave. He stood up and... No, bro. Like, if only you guys knew, it's just a regular dude that came from the real world. It's chill, bro. You guys are on the same side. You guys are literally on the same side. Colin's expression became unusually grave. He stood up and slowly paced up and down, saying, "Let's wait a little longer. Up until now, we still haven't figured out the purpose of that mysterious person who called himself Amon. We don't understand why he only sent one avatar to the City of Silver after discovering it, as well as the goal of patiently staying in the underground dungeons for 42 years. If his intentions are solely to destroy us, he wouldn't have done such an incomprehensible actions. Just wait a little longer. This might be our hidden hope, the hope for us in surveying the apocalypse when it comes." Just as he finished his sentence, a bolt of lightning flashed past the window, illuminating the pitch-black sky in the gloomy room. When it was almost evening, Klein finally received Mist Magician's praying and obtained the first 2 chapters of the sights in the spirit world through the sacrificial ritual. When he sat in the seat that belonged to the fool, he leisurely flipped through the copy notebook and he read them line by line. He was stunned to find himself turning increasingly irritable. What's happening? Those words clearly don't contain any spirituality, and the paper is ordinary as well. It couldn't be a sealed artifact, so how did it affect my state of mind? Furthermore, I'm above the great fog, a fog that can even sever the influence of a true god. Klein frowned, leaned back, and carefully recalled the information in the Book of Secrets, which had similar phenomena. Not long after, he roughly understood the reason. Truly the scammer that doesn't belong to this era. Not long after, he roughly understood the reason. When certain existences were describable in detail, even if it was written in text form, it would still affect the readers through thoughts and psyche. Amongst them, the scariest were recorded related to true gods. A book of exploring a particular god in a detail would cause every reader to go crazier or even distort the ideologies. As for Beyonders, there was a high chance of them losing control. Sights in the Spirit World was written by a certain ancestor of the Abraham family. He had recorded all the strange and wrong and wonderful things that had happened whenever he traveled through the spirit world. Oh. Okay. In the first chapter, he described the lights in the spirit world. He believed that the 7 rays of pure light of different colors contained the limitless knowledge of different domains, and that no matter where the travelers were in the spirit world, they would be able to see them blanking higher elevations. So there's different elevations in the spirit world. What was even more surprising was that these 7 rays of light were alive. 7 rays, 7 Orthodox gods, right? That's probably what it is. 7 rays, 7 Orthodox gods. I lost my place as I said that. They were like spirit bodies that lingered there. And the field of mysticism, many of the secrets of the secret deed rituals were actually aimed at the 7 pure lights, and through the secret connections, they allowed one to gain a certain amount of knowledge. Therefore, many mysticism experts called the 7 pure lights master or teacher. In response to this, the 7 pure lights seemed very happy. They had even pulled in quite a few spirit world creatures to form a secret organization that specialized in teaching people. The Pure Light Brotherhood? This is a new org, right? And the second chapter, the traveler from the Abraham family recorded his encounter with a yellow light, Venithen? Okay, hold up. We're getting lore. We're getting new lore. I'm sorry, my audio's spiking. We're getting new lore. Hold up. Because we're getting new lore, I want to get this. I want to get this out. I'm sensing something being built up from volume 1, okay? Now that we're getting stuff about the spirit world, it's like the spirits are alive. It's a new organization. Okay. Let's walk it back for a sec. Maybe this is related to a Zik in some way, or maybe oh shit, client. Maybe it's really okay. Hold up. I was finishing my notes for today's review with Anime Wiz, and I realized something. Are you guys ready? What was a new ritual we learned that never happened in Volume 1? The alchemical life ritual. Remember how, like, and then I also realized apparently old Neo had a son. We're gonna meet him one day. All right, I'm gonna say it. We're gonna meet him one day. I already know. They say he's off in a different state, but we don't know where. Okay, hold up. Back on track. Back to the cook. We're back in the kitchen. Remember, old Neo was trying to do the alchemical life ritual to bring back his late wife, right? We've learned the ingredient. Like, we know how to do the ritual. You grab the spirit from the spirit world, and now in this volume, we're getting more lore in the spirit world, and we're seeing that there's like 7 rays of light that are alive. Okay, hold up. Nah, O'Neill didn't. No, bro, I took notes. I've been taking notes. They literally say that. Oh, Romero, don't throw me off, bro. Nah, there was a delusional. That was a delusion. He said, no. He said he has a lost son in an unknown city, and he doesn't know where he is, right? And then, remember Audrey's older brother say, "Hey, man, a man's career is like it's your ideology. Like you have to stick to it." So he's probably doing whatever he was. We'll get to it one point. We'll get back on track. Point is, I think we're gonna use this alchemical life ritual to bring something or someone back, right? No. I know he lied about his wife being alive, right? But he did mention a son, and you need to read the. You need the. Wait, Easy Geeky, you need the reading comprehension devil? But it was his late wife. Right? Oh, point is, we're going to use the alchemical ritual. You know what I mean. The alchemical ritual to bring someone back, right? But I'm thinking now, maybe somebody or someone used the alchemical life ritual on Klein, right? Because he quote unquote transmigrated, right? He came from the real world. For all we know, he came from the spirit world. No, it doesn't make sense. You know what was another thing I was thinking when I was finishing my notes from volume 1? Maybe Klein is still dead because he didn't come out of the grave until Melissa threw a Zig's copper whistle into the grave. And I know he can leave it above the grave fog. I was thinking about that. Like this whole the whole alchemical life ritual is gonna come back. It's gonna come back. It's gonna go full circle. Where are you getting these ingredients? I don't know where I'm getting them. We'll find out. Not a bad theory. I think that was a pretty good theory. I was thinking about that and I was like, wait, hold up. Like I missed this in volume 1. Maybe I'm completely wrong, but I got a little excited, you know. It had my brain jogging. And I was like, okay, that could go somewhere. But okay, let's pause. Let's keep going, man. I'm probably completely wrong, but let's keep going, dude. All right, chapter 397 is called Apocalyptic Prophecy. Relying on the power of the mysterious space above the Great Fog, Klein quickly recovered a good state of mind and continued to read the second chapters of the Sights in the Spirit World. The traveler of the Abraham family, the owner of the notebook, claimed that when he wandered into the depths of the Spirit World, he met an elder dressed in a dressed in a lemon? Okay, never mind. Dressed in a lemon yellow robes. The elder's body was translucent and was abnormally similar to the surrounding creatures of the Spirit World, but his attitude was surprisingly amiable. The traveler from the Abraham family conversed with the elder for a while, and he was surprised to find that the elder was actually one of the 7 pure lights that blanketed the spirit world at the highest elevation. Yellow light Venethan. Venethan told the traveler of the Abraham family that his own characteristics were reason and adaptation. Choked on my coffee. That he was a symbol of astronomy and that his corresponding gem was emerald. Corresponding gem? Oh, that's where Thor's bracelet, right? It had like green like emerald gems. It's probably where it came from. He made a rather ancient reference to a prophecy that came from himself. Focus as the stars from the cosmos shattering the lands, everything in the world would cease to exist. He believed that this would be the end of the world within 200 years. Nothing would be spared from this. The traveler from the Abraham family didn't have much of a reaction towards this comment. Instead, he asked how he could remove the bloodline curse of his family, yellow light. Venethan told him that in a certain sense it was indeed a curse, but it had a completely different nature from the curses in mysticism. The solution was in the future, in the hands of an apprentice who was assisted by a hidden existence. He also warned the traveler of the Abraham family that the day the curse was lifted was the beginning of the Abraham's family true doom. So they lift the curse and they're doomed. Well, that's pretty morbid. Okay. As for what the tribulation was, he said that he wasn't so sure himself. He believed that it involved a great existence of the level of gods. In the second chapters of the Sights in the Spirit World, the owner of the notebook mentioned something else. Venethan mentioned another matter, the the rulers of the Great White Brotherhood would often enter the real world and through different methods transform... One sec. What do you mean I never visit you? You never visit me anymore, dude. Sorry, I had to put my phone on Do Not Disturb. We're good. And I realized we're still recording. It's okay, sorry. As for the Tribution was, he said that he wasn't so sure himself. He believed that it involved a great existence on the level of gods. Music change? Let me reread from here. Okay, so we'll do a music change in a bit. He also warned the traveler of the Abraham family that the day the curse was lifted was the beginning of the Abraham's family true doom. And for what the tribulation was, he said he wasn't so sure himself. He believed that it involved a great existence of the level of gods. In the second chapter of Sights in the Spirit World, the owner of the notebook mentioned something else. Venithan mentioned another matter. The rulers of the Great White Brotherhood would often enter the real world and through different methods transform into humans and teach the knowledge of their respective domains. Since the fifth epoch, many of the mentor-level characters of different domains were their incarnations. For example, the greatest astrologer, D. Forsman, in the last 1,000 years had proven that their current world was a planet. He was none other than the human incarnation of Yellow Light Venithan. Whoa. We're getting reincarnation in Lord of Mysteries? Hold up. He was none other than the human not reincarnation. The human incarnation of the Yellow Light Venithan. Okay, my bad. I thought it said reincarnation. Based on this, the owner of the notebooks raised a theory. Which pure light's incarnation was Roselle Gustav, who could be considered a mentor in many fields? Which one is Klein? Oh, wait a minute. The seven lights somehow make a human body to walk the lands and build... Yeah, okay. Now, which one is Klein? That's what I want to know. Hold up, bro. Come on, bro. Cuttlefish, you're too obvious, bro. I see what he's doing, bro. I see what he's doing. Which one is Klein, bro? That's what I want to know. Based on this, the owner of the notebook raised a theory. Which pure light's incarnation was Roselle Gustav, who could be considered a mentor in many fields? No, he wasn't. If you really want to think like that, then he's probably a green light. Klein raised his hand and rubbed his temples. I know he's from China. I know he's from... I know in the story they set up like, oh, he transmigrated right from the real world. But maybe that's all in his head. Because he doesn't talk that much about his past. Right? Maybe they just want him to think that. We'll find out. We'll find out in like 1,000 chapters. But let's keep going. No, he wasn't. If you want to think like that, then he's probably a green light. Klein raised his hands and rubbed his temples. Based on this, he judged that the owner of the notebook was an extremely ancient beyonder. However, judging from the fact that the person didn't address Roselle as emperor, this tour of the spirit world had likely taken place during the period when Roselle was still a consul, or when his proclamation as an emperor was still not widely recognized. Of course, it didn't prevent the possibility that beyonders of the Abraham family refused to recognize any emperor other than the Tudor Empire. A traveler who can roam the spirit world, it must be quite a high sequence. If he were a high sequence beyonder, Mr. Dor would have long been rescued. What? Mr. Dor would have long been rescued, and the so-called bloodline curses would no longer exist. Thus, the owner of the diary would be a Sequence 5 Beyonder, a Sequence 6 with a mystical item. Although the Abraham family has declined, they aren't weak either. Why is the Yellow Light Venithan's prophecy similar to the Demonist sect and the Aura Order? The apocalypse is coming. So there are several organizations saying that the apocalypse is coming. Okay. From the period that I predicted, the apocalypse should only be 2 to 3 decades from now. Klein frowned as he thought. Roselle became consul in 1173, and it was currently November 1349, 176 years away, and the Yellow Light Venithan had predicted that then it would be between 200 years. Oh, so it's coming up in like 30 years. Considering the fact that Klein had only made an estimate of the period interval, it was possible that he was 24 to 50 years from the apocalypse. Roselle proclaimed himself as an emperor in 1192 and was assassinated in 1198. Although the first 2 chapters of Sight in the Spirit World didn't provide any particular knowledge. It had thoroughly opened up his thoughts, allowing him to understand the situation of the spirit world to a certain extent, as well as the existence of the 7 pure lights and the Great White Brotherhood. So when advancing, hold up, is the Great White Brotherhood the secret organization that's been pulling everything in the shadows that Rizal mentioned in his book? Wait, no. Don't answer that. No, thinking out loud. Because I know Rizal mentioned, like, oh, the organization, and Klein was, like, mad that he didn't say which one. Klein has deduced that the writer of Sights of the Spirit is, like, he's deducing that. Green light is a Chinese joke about cheating on others, by the way. Oh, I didn't know that. It's a rhetorical. Thank you, Beck. That was a rhetorical question. Okay. Maybe? I like that. Good answer. Okay. Rhetorical? Maybe? Question mark. Okay, we'll leave it there. So when advancing the pure lights seen at extremely high elevations after transforming into a spirit body state and holding the corresponding rituals of the pure lights of the spirit world. Furthermore, they are alive within their own thoughts. How miraculous. The first two chapters of Sights in the Spirit World aren't completely lacking practical knowledge. At the very least, I know that Yellow Light's real name is Venethan and that his corresponding gems is Emerald. I got to learn a lot of detailed information, and I can use this to design secret deed rituals to the point towards him. But for the time being, it wouldn't be of much use. Klein thought for a moment, then he closed the copy notebook and returned to the real world. He had more important things to do instead of communicating with Yellow Light Venethan. Klein took out a piece of paper, raised his pen, and wrote a letter to the inventor Lepard, asking what stage of the patent approval process the bicycle was, why it had been successful, and if it indeed needed a lawyer to help him. With the establishment of the magician's rules, the thorough digestion of the potion wouldn't take him more than 2 months, and he had to save up as quickly as possible for the corresponding cost of the beyond ingredients that needed for him to advance to Faceless. Damn, this is gonna be hype when he hits face. He has to hit Faceless this volume, bro. There's no shot he doesn't. Of these, the Sun might be able to offer one item for free because the all black eye, but the other item required Klein to figure it out for himself. As far as he knew, the corresponding beyond ingredients for Sequence 6 were all over 1,500 pounds, and they were typically in a situation where demand striped supply. In addition to the 2 main ingredients, the supplementary ingredients included the blood of a 1,000-faced hunter and the hair from a deep sea naga. These 2 items were extremely rare and rich in spirituality, making them expensive. Earning money really is difficult, but spending it is easy. Tell me about it, bro. If only I could sell the werewolf and interrogator beyond characteristics. I can't even waste a single penny or solely. Klein sealed the envelope and adhered a stamp on it. He knew how much he had without even needing to count. 624 pounds in notes and 5 1-pound gold coins plus 7 solely notes and some copper pennies. Right, Miss Magician will pay 600 pounds for the Sheriff Beyond characteristics meant for Miss Shio. I hope they can raise the money as soon as possible. Klein silently cheered the 2 ladies. They're telling me that the Beyonder Circle you recently joined has both Beyonder ingredients of the Sheriff Potion, and the price is very reasonable. 600 pounds for all that. Shio widened her eyes as she delivered a barrage of questions. She had just come back from Eastboro to find out who had recently been keeping tabs on Capum. Yes, he's a very reputable seller. The only problem is that the verification process of joining is very strict, so I won't be able to rope you in for a short period of time. What Force said was entirely true. Oh, so she's still trying to get Force in. I mean, not Force. She's still trying to get Shio in. That's great. Shio didn't suspect for her end, but she took 2 excited steps forward. Suddenly, her expression sank. But I don't have enough money. The corners of Force's lips twitched and asked, how much do you have now? Counting the 30-pound deposit received from this job, a total of 310 pounds, so I'm still short of half. She'll scratch her short blonde hair. Let me think of where I can borrow 300 pounds. Go, Audrey. The bank won't give a bounty hunter like me a loan, and those unsuries have way too much interest. Perhaps Miss Audrey. She had heard from her friend that she had recently bought the Trickmaster potion recipe for 450 pounds, so she had no intention of borrowing money from Forrest. Why are we all so poor? Forrest couldn't help but sigh. Miss Audrey rarely comes out of the day. She seems to be busy with other things, and borrowing money from her isn't always a timely thing to do. We can't try Viscount Glant first. If it's too late, then I'll pay you for the rest. I have 430 pounds. That's enough. She's gonna lend her the money? I hope you pay the rest. I have 430 pounds. That's enough. She'll blink her eyes and suddenly lower her head. She said in a heavy voice, Fours, you're the best. Ah. When I advanced to sheriff, I'll earn even more money. Four smiled and shook her head. So why don't you do the cleaning today? How about that? Okay, I'm gonna change the music. Dude, I'm scared. Remember how at the end of volume 1 I said I'm gonna close my heart this volume? I'm scared that we're getting so much screen time between Fours and Shio and only Fours in the club. I'm not even gonna say what I think I might happen. Let's just change the music, bro. Let's change the music, Cammy. I got you, dude. Alright, are you guys ready? City of Silver, Derrick left the training field and returned home. He had just inquired about what the exploratory team members would be released from quarantine, and he had received the answer when the lightnings calmed today. Okay? Sitting down at the ancient wooden table, Derrick considered the plan again, remembering what Mr. Hangman's reminder. If there's no suitable audience to testify for you, then you might as well use the Beyonder who's monitoring you. Oh! If there's no suitable audience to testify for you, then you might as well use the Beyonder who's monitoring you. But how do I know when I'm being monitored? Mr. Hangman said with a great certainty, but he wasn't detailed enough. Many questions arose in Derrick, but he couldn't find a way to verify them. Although he felt embarrassed to ask Mr. Fool for guidance on this question, upon considering the fact that this matter was related to the survival of the City of Silver, he mustered his courage. He spoke the name of the fool in a low voice, and he briefly described the difficulties he had encountered. Are you heading out? Ellie had to fulfill her LOTM disruption quota. Yeah, she kind of did. She does. We love her, though. He spoke the name of the fool in a low voice, and he briefly described the difficulties he had encountered. After a while, he saw Mr. Fool sitting in the middle of the endless gray fog. He had heard a concise reply. What the fuck am I saying? A concise reply. Touch the item in the iron blocks. In the iron blocks? Oh my god, I am stuttering today. I'm sorry. Touch the item in the iron box. Do not exceed 3 heartbeats. Prepare yourself in advance. Pay attention to the origins of the black lines. That simple. Derrick thanked Mr. Fool in a pleasant surprise. He adjusted his posture and quietly put his hands inside the pocket of his clothes. As the wall of spirituality was lifted, Derrick's fingers pushed open the iron box and carefully probed inside. Suddenly, he touched an ice-cold item. As the wall of spirituality lifted, Derrick's fingers pushed open the iron box and carefully probed inside. Suddenly, he touched an ice-cold item and the black illusionary eyes appeared in front of his eyes. At the same time, his mind buzzed as an illusionary roar was tearing through his ears. Derrick's body convulsed and tears of snot stemmed down his face due to the pain. He almost forgot what he had to do, but fortunately, in the limits of his vision, he saw the illusionary black lines converge. In the dark corner, there appeared to be a shadow. Derrick withdrew his hand at once and thought he had touched a red-hot soldering iron. He collapsed to the ground and began to twitch as if heat had been struck by lightning. His mouth couldn't close at all, and saliva constantly dripping from it. It took nearly a minute for Derrick to recover, close the box again, and seal it with a wall of spirituality. He stood up and took a sip of the cold water, already aware that someone was monitoring him at the very moment. After an unknown period of time, Derrick suddenly heard a knock on the door. Who is it? He asked, slightly at a loss. A joyful voice came from outside. It's me, Dark? Oh, the friend! The exploratory team has been removed from quarantine. Weren't you interested in knowing about our experience this time? Oh, it's not good. Wait, I lied. Let's not continue. I need to update my stuff. All right, new chapter 398 is called Alluring. Shut up! Why is this chapter called Mushrooms? Wait! If there are 3 emojis you guys have never been able to shut up about, was a pregnant woman, a monocle face, and a freaking mushroom. Yeah, his Bankai reactions were legendary. He'd be like this with the sword. Ooh, going crazy. Oh, dude. Okay, we're getting mushrooms. Bro, I'm kind of excited. I'm scared, but I'm excited. Shut up. If they kill Derrick, bro, we're dropping the series. We're going full-time on Shadow Slave. If Derrick dies this chapter. Okay, let's continue. Shit, I'm scared, dude. I don't want to read this. Wait. Fucking Cammy's telling me to change the music. You motherfuckers are hitting me with the mushroom emojis. Last time you guys hit me with the pregnant belly shit, it was not good. Let's keep reading. Chapter 398 is called Alluring Mushrooms. Dark. The image of Dark appeared in Derrick's mind. Oh, man. Dude, if I had a heart monitor on right, guys, you'd be like, holy shit. You know what? I'm gonna actually put on my fucking watch. I'm gonna show you guys my thing right now. I'm gonna show you my fucking heartbeat, man. Oh my god. Right now, dude. Oh, he was of medium height, slightly plump and strong. He was an optimistic, cheerful teenager who often beamed with a friendly smile. He was a classmate during the general education and a teammate of the patrol squad. But after this exploration of the fallen crater's half-destroyed temple, he had become reserved and merely smiled at everyone. I feel like he's being possessed by a parasite. Well, you guys love mushrooms? I hate mushrooms on my pizza. Once he recalled Dark Renegade's changes, Derrick couldn't help but quiver as he felt a chill down his spine. Why did he suddenly come looking for me? Shouldn't he be heading home after being removed from quarantine? At that moment, many questions arose in Derrick's mind. Suddenly, he thought of a possibility. Elder Livia knows that I'm suspected that something abnormal happened to them. Wait, Elder Livia knows that I've suspected that something abnormal had happened to them. So she sent Dark to deal with me. Oh, shit, dude. Welcome back, dude. You came at either a good time or a bad time. Woo! Derrick was first shocked and filled with horror, but immediately following that, he felt that it might not be a bad thing. Mr. Hangman said, if there isn't a suitable audience to testify for you, then you might as well use the Beyonder who's monitoring you. And now the person monitoring me is in that corner. If Dark were to suddenly attack me, then he would definitely expose the fact that there's something wrong with him. Oh, wait, yeah, so it's good. Okay, so they're setting up Derrick as the bait. This way, even if I don't use Mr. Fool's item, I can still make things go smoothly. Derrick turned his head to look out the window. At that moment, the frequency of the lighting had dropped to its nadir. Only after a minute or two would a bolt of lightning streak across the sky, illuminating half the sky. The entire world and most of the city of Silver was immersed in a deep darkness most of the time. If he were alone, Derrick wouldn't have searched for a candle to light. He liked to lie quietly in bed and think about all sorts of things. Of course, he knew that he was actually rather dangerous. If there was no light to dispel the darkness, the monsters could suddenly appear even within the city of Silver. However, Derrick was a light supplicant himself, so he came equipped with the attribute of light and wasn't afraid of something similar happening. Knock, knock, knock. Dark knocked 3 more times as if urging the master to open the house to open the door. He wasn't like that before. He was very polite. Derrick suddenly felt a deep sense of sorrow. I think it's, oh my god. He took out a candle from a wooden box and placed it in the middle of the table. He then rubbed his fingers, creating a golden flame. The flame lit the candles, filling the room with a faint but warm glow, and this was accompanied by a faint, pungent aroma. The candles in the City of Silver were mainly made up from the fat and oil refined from the bodies of monsters. They would have different smells due to their different origins. After taking a deep breath, Derrick walked to the door with a strong sense of vigilance and opened it. What took you so long? Dark asked with a smile. I was looking for candles, Derrick replied. I feel bad if he has to take out his friend, bro. He didn't dare to leave his back to the other party, and he chose to walk side by side with Dark. With his classmate and teammate, he walked back to the table and took their respective seats. Do you want to try some of these recently dried doom fruits? A mushroom? Dark asked with a smile as he removed a wait, what? Do you want to try some of these recently dried doom fruits? I thought they only had the grass. So this is something new that's edible? Dark asked with a smile as he removed a small cloth bag from his waist. Doom fruits were one of the very rare snacks in the City of Silver. It came from a plant called the doom bloodvine, a type of organism that didn't need light to grow. It grew by absorbing the nutrients from the rotting corpses. It had a tendency to attack and was considered quite a common weak monster. Every doom blood vine had many thumb-sized black fruits which could be eaten directly. They were crisp and sweet, but they were unable to fill one's stomach and didn't provide the necessary nutrients. They could only be used as a daily snack. The merit points he received from a single patrol could be exchanged for several large bags of them. No, there's no need. Derrick shook his head cautiously. All right then. Dark poured out a pile of black fruit from the bag, picked one up, and popped it into his mouth before noisily munching on it. Derrick thought for a moment and took the initiative to ask, did you encounter any monsters in the underground area of the temple? Dark stopped chewing and answered with a smile. There was quite a few of them, but they weren't that powerful. They were easily limited by us. That place was destroyed for a long... No, we do not praise the true creator. Backland 15 Ming Street. As soon as Klein, who had crawled into the warm world under his quilt, heard what sounded like a prayer from Little Sun, he struggled to get out of bed and conjured a wall of spirituality. He then took out he took 4 steps counterclockwise and went above the gray fog. Seated in the seat that belonged to the fool, he didn't hurry to examine Little Sun's request. Instead, he made the Dark Emperor card, paper figurines, and other items appear in front of him with a long bronze table in a neatly arranged order. According to the Hangman's plan, the scene of the sun stimulated the mutation of the exploratory team's members would happen during a sacrificial rite. That way, when the matter was concluded, it would be quite simple to make the object that was borrowed from the world disappear from the scene, wiping away all evidence. After that, all the blame could be pushed onto Amon. As for Mr. Fool, Klein had agreed to Little Sun's request to simplify the ritual in an uncaring manner. All that was needed to be done were the key steps. At this point, he was waiting for the prelude to the ritual to be completed so that he could respond. Okay. Let's pause, update, and let's keep going. 399. Let's just keep reading. Chapter 399 is called The Corrupted. In the Berg household in the City of Silver, looking at the bloodstained scalp, Derrick suddenly recalled what it previously looked like. It was a beautiful and alluring mushroom, one that he almost couldn't control himself from swallowing. The doomed fruits are dark. Oh, I hear Ellie. In the Berg house in the City of Silver, let's start from here again. Looking at the bloodstained scalp, Derrick suddenly recalled what it previously looked like. It was a beautiful and alluring mushroom, one that he almost couldn't control himself from swallowing. The doomed fruits that Dark had shared with him and produced crisp, crunchy sounds when they were bitten into were actually bloody pieces of human fingers with slightly pale skin. At that moment, Derrick had a violent spasm in his stomach before a gush of acid surged to his throat. Resisting the urge to vomit, he quickly croaked a line of lyrics. God, please have your kingdom descend upon this land. Your enemies will disappear. Your enemies will disperse, and your followers will relish in joy. There was a touch of warmth and holiness in the song, and Derrick felt all the discomfort in his body weaken. His spirituality also became full and lively. His courage, his strength, and his agility were all greatly enhanced by this song. This was the beyond powers of a sequencing bard. Oh, he's doing a bard spell. Right? Dark stared at his former classmate and teammate singing with an increasingly dark expression. The way he spoke became more and more inhuman. What is the thing on your body? What is that thing on your body? What is that thing on your body? Question, exclamation mark. Okay, that's cool. All of a sudden, Dark's clothes were stretched out in a bulging stripes as though a nest of slithering venomous snakes were underneath them. Whoosh! Bloody stripes of flesh pierced through the black, skin-tight clothing as its surface had rough skin covering with hair. Strands of meat began to flail outwards, causing Dark to look like a bloody, furry hedgehog. With a swish, the meat strands surged towards Derrick, who was still standing at his original location. Derrick was a patrol squad member who had seen quite a number of monsters, so he wasn't too flustered by the situation. He twisted his waist, raised his arm, and swung the axe of Hurricane that he was already holding in his hand. Oof. The axe of Hurricane hacked down at a few bloody strands of flesh, directly splitting them in half and causing them to fall to the ground. However, because it was nighttime in the City of Silver, the strike didn't bring about any lighting, even though bloody strips of flesh began to surge forward, wrapping themselves around the axe of Hurricane over and over again as they relentlessly clung to it. Seeing that his body couldn't pull back, a pure light suddenly lit up in Derrick's eyes. It was as if 2 small suns had descended into the room, and his other hand was holding something close to his mouth and nose as if it was praying. Without a sound, a fiery pillar of light descended from the sky, striking the bloody flesh from... What? The bloody flesh that was wound... Is it Colin? Without a sound, a fiery pillar of light descended from the sky, striking the bloody flesh that was wound up into... It's Colin. Dark let out an uncontrollable scream, and many bloody stripes of flesh fell to the ground, charred black. They squirmed, struggling as if they were alive. The spirituality contained within the bloody stripes of meat was no longer under the control of its original owner, and gradually they merged with the natural power derived from the sacrificial ritual's incantation, forming an increasingly bright pink wave. This wave was surged into the dim yellow candle flame, causing the light to suddenly Bergian, forming an illusory and mysterious door. Derrick had long drawn the full secret symbol of the candle. Oh, this was all prepared in advance. All of this constituted to a simple but complete sacrifice ceremony. He's sacrificing Dark? What? Kacha. As the seat shattered, Dark lunged at Derrick while... No. Bergen equals grow. Oh. So it was growing. Grow. I didn't know that. Okay. Thank you, Kemi. You're really good, man. You know, you're quick at this. Whenever I'm lost, you're like, oh, it's actually this. As the seed shattered, Dark lunged at Derrick while flaying the bloody stripes of meat. There were no fear or tension in his eyes, only the Prayers? Oh my god, I can't read, man. I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry. As the seat shattered, Dark lunged at Derrick while flaying the bloody stripes of meat. There was no fear or tension in his eyes, only the purest, most fervent desire. At this moment, Klein, who was above the gray fog, responded. With a creaking sound, the illusioning door had many strange patterns on it, opening a tiny crack. Behind the crack was a deep darkness in which countless transparent, indescribable shadows resided. High above the shadows were the seven lights? High above the shadows were the seven pure lights of different colors that contained endless knowledge. Above the brilliance was an endless grayish-white fog, and above it was an ancient palace that overlooked the gray fog. Is he actually seeing it? Barred Pathway is one of the most visually impressive ones. They take praying pose and lights will appear like divine halo. What is going on? Like, are they looking up and they see it? Above the what the? Yo, wait. High above these shadows were seven pure lights of different colors that contained endless knowledge. Above the brilliance was an endless grayish white fog, and above it was an ancient palace that overlooked the gray fog. And then what? They're gonna see Klein? Suddenly, a shadow leaped out from a dark corner, covering Dark, who was closest to him. Dark, flaying stripes of bloody meat were all wrapped up by a pitch-black, vicious liquid as he seemed to turn into a cat who had entered an opaque bag. The shadow didn't stop and it quickly extended across the ground, rushing towards Derrick, who had already dodged to another location, and shouted sternly, "Stop! What are you trying to do?" As an observer, his original plan was to watch from the sidelines and record the corresponding anomalies. He would only take action to stop the two strange parties when the situation became unimaginable. But when he saw an illusory door covered with strange symbols open up with a crack, he felt intimidated by the deep, mysterious, distinct, and majestic scene inside. He instinctively believed that this was related to a terrifying evil god, so he could only take hastily actions, given orders, and attempt to forcefully interrupt Derrick's attempts at performing sacrifice to the being. However, Derrick had already chosen his location to be as far from the shadow as possible. Therefore, to stop the boy who was possessed by the mysterious demon, the shadow observer had to bypass or take down Derrick Regents first. However, his choice was the latter because of the obvious abnormality with Dark. Leaving his back to this being was an absolutely stupid move. Taking advantage of this opportunity, Derrick took out the iron box from the concealed pocket and threw it towards the illusory door and conjured it by the candle flame towards a crack that presented a magical scene. As the iron box disappeared, the door that was covering in strange symbols and characters closed with a clang before quickly vanishing. At this moment, Derrick remembered Mr. Hangman's words, and he deliberately warped his facial muscles and savory moved towards the shadow. Before the shadow blanked him, he suddenly coughed violently and covered his mouth with his hand before falling to the ground. The pitch-black shadow emanated and completely covered him. The room returned to silence, but there were now two huge black chrysalises on the ground. After a while, the pitch-black vicious liquid withdrew and reformed into the shadow. With the chrysalises, the silhouettes of the Derrick and Dark appeared once more. The former lay there unconscious by a tiny strange... Oh, it's the worm! During the sacrifice ritual, the divine kingdom's projection will appear. Yeah, no, so it appeared. So it's like... So now we know, like, you can physically see the gray fog. That is so cool. So when he's doing that summoning ritual, right? Oh, hey, Vec. Hey, man, quick plug, bro. If you want to use that emo, it's a $1 membership. Am I right or am I right, Vec? That's a funny one. That was a funny emo. I forgot we put that one. The room returned to silence, but there was now two huge black chrysalises? Cocoon made by insects to transform. Oh, it's like a cocoon. Ugh. So with the cocoon, the silhouettes of Derrick and Dark appeared once more. The former lay there unconscious, but a tiny strange worm with 12 transparent rings dropped from his hand. The latter had already turned into a lump of flesh, squirming and roaring as it prepared to attack. Faced with the situation, the observer had no choice but to spare some of his strength and once again wrapped him, using his shadow-like black liquid to envelop Dark Regnance, who had transformed into a monster. Glancing at the scattered pale fingers of the bloody scalp with his short black hair, the observer couldn't help but take a deep breath. Using his beyond powers to control the shadows outside, he created tidal waves to inform the chief inside the spire. Only after doing this did he carefully examine Derrick's situation and saw that the strange translucent worm, the avatar of the Amon hid in Derrick's body, is dead. Yeah, so it's like, so now they're blaming it on Amon. The observer The avatar of the Amon hid in Derrick's body is dead. The observer muttered in surprise. As he recalled Dark's strangeness, the terrifying mutation, and the mushroom and doom fruits, he began to have a rough idea of what had happened. Perhaps Amon was arch nemesis with the mastermind behind Dark's corruption. So this is what he's thinking. So perhaps Amon was arch enemies with the mastermind behind Dark's corruption. So So Amon was the arch nemesis of the mastermind behind Dark's corruption. So allegedly the true creator. In order to foil the other party's ploy, Amon was willing to sacrifice his avatar, Derrick's visit to the training field to observe the exploratory team, and his report of them to the chief were both Amon's attempts to rid his enemy without exposing himself. Okay. So now Derrick is clear. The mastermind behind Dark's corruption had noticed Derrick's strangeness, so he sent Dark to take control of him. The bloody scalp and fingers were props to achieve his goal. As he thought this, the monitor suddenly agreed with the chief's concern. The apocalypse or an even greater disaster was about to befall the City of Silver. That was why the City of Silver would repeatedly encounter so many strange events and mysterious existences that lurked deep in the darkness. Oh, we unsend messages? Careful. Wait, careful. Inside the chief's room in the spire, the shadow recounted everything that had happened. The grizzled, facially scared Colin Ilya nodded and gently after hearing the recount. Derrick, or should I say Amon, had really prepared ahead of time. The candle with the symbol engraved on it, the evil object that had exposed Dark's problem, and Derrick's excuse of pouring water to whisper a prayer, as well as finally sending away the item in a sacrificial ritual. All of this indicates that the entire situation developed according to his plan. 2 questions. 1, who does the hidden symbol of the candle refer to? Amon himself or the god behind him? Are they setting up like Amon and Klein? Like, because they assume Amon was praying to a god, right? Well, we know it was Klein. 2, why is Amon willing to expose the exploratory team's abnormality at the cost of his avatar? Is it because his arch enemies with the mastermind? Then why did he stay in the City of Silver for 42 years? Could it be that that he foretold this matter ahead of time, which is why he specifically met with the exploratory team from 42 years ago and planted his avatar in them so as to foil plans of the mastermind? He waited 42 years for this single moment. Dude, these characters have such a crazy, like, high IQ. Like, I would not be able to come up with this. I'll be like, I don't know. Why'd he do it? Like, I'll be like, why'd he wait for 2 years? Like, what? Really? I wouldn't be able to, like, piece all this together. Even though this is what Klein wants them to think, I wouldn't even be able to think this up. Upon hearing the chief's question, the Shadow's observer suddenly said in enlightenment, maybe that's how it is. Or excellently think about it. Why would Amon patiently wait for 42 years before making Udel lose control when Derrick was imprisoned beside him? It's because the foretold time was approaching and he was in desperate need to switch to a free person that he could latch onto so as to follow the plans of the mastermind. So that's why they assumed he switched to Derrick. He wanted to take a pee break? Crazy patience. Indeed, we were only thinking about what was different with Derrick, and we didn't pay attention to the timing. The City of Silver Colin answered on the thought. The Shadow Observer immediately said, "You're excellently pleased," and immediately locked down all members of the exploratory team. They're definitely problematic. Also, Elder Lovia, she has a non-trivial possibility of also being corrupted. Thank you. So now we're on her. Colin frowned and said, "Before you report this matter to me, and even before Dark went out, Lovia came to me and told me that she suspects that the members of the exploratory team had been contaminated by something. She had recommended that we secretly monitor them and, if necessary, have them guard Elder Hawk's inverted mausoleum." Inverted mausoleum? Monitor and, if necessary, have them guard Elder Hawk's inverted... I thought the inverted mausoleum was in the southern continent. The one that believed in death. There's one in the City of Silver? Hold up, that's not a rhetorical question, right? So there's another inverted mausoleum in the City of Silver. Yes? Hawks was the former chief of the City of Silver, and he... Oh, right here, it's saying it right here. And he had built himself a mausoleum. After that, he lived in that mausoleum as apprentices began to slowly decrease. Finally, the doors were closed, impossible to open again. Elder Lovia had long mentioned of an abnormality. The Shadow Observer asked in surprise. So, the former guy, Hawks, he made one. After receiving a positive answer, he muttered to himself, half doubted and half relaxed. It's good that Elder Lavia doesn't have any problems. I've already sent people to lock down the members of the exploratory team, but we can't ignore any other possibilities. Chief Colin let aside, I cannot pronounce his names. Yeah. So, yeah, the chief built it. Got it. Let Aya Floor come to me. I'll interrogate Derrick Berg together with her. Let Iflor? I cannot pronounce that name. But for now, we hit the big 400s. We made it. I have to apologize, man. I don't know, man. I'm not in the right headspace today. So I feel like I'm stumbling my words a lot more than I normally should. And I apologize for that. But we're going to keep this chill. We're going to keep it fun. We hit a new milestone. We're at the 400s. The big 400. Shooting for 500. We'll be at 500 in like 2 streams, man. Trust. Damn 400. Congrats. Finally reached. Man, I'll be honest, man. I never thought we hit past 100. I thought I'd read like 5 chapters and then wait for the anime. But here we are with 1,743 beautiful people and 31 people watching me live. So thank you guys. Let's pause. Sorry, I'm feeling a little humbled. Let's pause. Let's update and let's keep going. My timestamps are completely wrong today, and I have to go back and re-record that mushroom scene from the live stream. But it's okay. That's it's half the fun. Next chapter. Chapter 400 is called "The Growth of the Rookie." In the dark and sturdy room, Derrick Berg, who had feigned unconsciousness, suddenly rolled to his feet. Dude, there's like almost 40 of you guys here. Thank you. His axe of hurricane had already been taken away by someone and sent for the inspection. Every pocket on him had also been emptied out, leaving nothing behind. Derrick took a breath and looked around steadily. Suddenly, his eyes lit up with his 2 sunken-like beams, causing everything in the room to be reflected clearly in his eyes. The furniture here also consisted of one of the table and 2 chairs. Apart from that, there was also a stone-paved floor with strange patterns on it. A half-used candle was placed on it. This was standard issue for rooms in the City of Silver because monsters could suddenly appear and the darkness prevailed for too long. Without any hesitation, Derrick sat down and reached for the candle. Then he broke the candle and divided it into 3 sections. One was 3/4 the length of the original piece, and the other 2 were halved from the remaining quarters. After Derrick's modification, the 3 candlesticks' cores were completely exposed. He rubbed his fingers together, creating a golden flame that lit up the 3 candles. The 2 of them represented Mr. Fool, and the remaining one symbolized Derrick himself. After finishing his preparations, Derrick didn't continue to burn the herbal powder according to the normal process. Instead, he poured in the essential oils and leaned back softly, chanting the honorific name of the Fool, and quickly entered cognition. He read it over and over again, monotonously, as if he were hypnotizing himself. With the help of cognition, Derrick entered a strange state where his mind was in deep sleep and his spirituality was dispersing. He felt adrift, but also seemed to maintain a strange lucidity. His psyche kept dispersing upwards as it rose in his height. This was the artificial sleepwalking. Derrick, with the permission of Mr. Fool, could simply simplify some of the unnecessary steps. Above the gray fog within the towering ancient palace, Clang was fiddling with the all-black eye. Suddenly saw the crimson stars that symbolized little sun burgeon with light, condensing into a human shadow, and the power of the mysterious space was stirring a little. Into a human... Upon seeing this, he couldn't help but feel relief. This meant that Little Sun had already completed the relatively dangerous part of the operation, and he only needed to round up the situation. Okay. Klein didn't delay, and he immediately put down the all-black eye and picked up the Dark Emperor card. Instantly rose in a level of authority, forcing the stirred power in the gray fog to submit to him. Then he picked up a paper figurine, flicked his wrist, and threw it towards the crimson stars corresponding to the sun. The paper figurine and the following power intertwined and quickly expanded into a gigantic angel with 12 pairs of pitch black wings. The angel piercing through the crimson light and overlapped with the illusionary figure of Little Sun. It silently combusted, turning into the ashes in less than a second. At this point, Klein could no longer affect the situation in the City of Silver. As for whether his angel substitute could help Little Sun pass the subsequent inquiries and investigations, he lacked absolute confidence. He could only sigh inwardly. With what has to be done completed and with all the hard work put in, all you can do is wait for fate's arrangement. Hopefully, it will be a good result. So this is him waking up. In a daze, Derrick was an angel, and Derrick saw an angel descended from him with an aura that covered the heavens, wrapped him with 12 pair of black wings. He suddenly came to his senses as 3 candles burned quietly in front of his eyes. After sincerely thanking Mr. Fool, Derrick finished the ritual and extinguished the 2 candles which were part of the original quarter. Then he pulled them out and created a brighter golden flame in his palm. Drip, drip, drip. The 2 candles quickly melted, dripping into wax on the remaining candles of the area surrounding it. When the candle burnt away completely, there was only 1 candle left on the table. It was shorter than before, but it wasn't very obvious. It seemed like it had only been burning for a short time. After removing the remaining traces, Derrick extinguished the last yellow flame candle. He sat up in silence, staring ahead. For a long time, he didn't do anything. He was worried that the 6-member council wouldn't react fast enough, allowing the exploratory team members to corrupt the remaining residents of the city of Silver with mushrooms and doom fruits. He was afraid that the chief and the others would find additional clues elsewhere, thwarting all his preparations. He hated those outsiders who lurked in the depths of the darkness, constantly carrying strong malice, including Amon and the fallen creator. He felt guilty that he had avoided the expedition without warning Dark and the rest, causing them to turn into corrupted monsters. He had painfully eliminated a classmate who could be considered a friend with his own hands. Although Derrick didn't see Dark's ultimate end, he believed that a man who had transformed into the state was already no different from dead. Derrick didn't know how long he waited while experiencing those mixed feelings. Midway, he even rekindled the candle. Finally, he heard the sound of the seal being removed and the door opening. Turning his head to look, he saw, with the aid of the dim yellow candlelight, a woman in a black skirt walk in. She had her hair tied up in a ponytail, and it hung down at her waist. Ma'am, I cannot pronounce his name, bro. I cannot pronounce this. Ma'am Iflor? Ma'am Iflor. Derrick subconsciously called out. Alfor was a pretty woman, but she had wrinkles at the corners of her eyes. She smiled and nodded in response. Then she walked over with light footsteps and sat down across him. Do you have anything you wish to say? She asked gently. Derrick instinctively lifted his head and looked over, only to suddenly discover that her pupils had somehow turned into golden vertical slits. His mind went adrift as he seemed to enter a sleepwalking state. Alfor? Iflor. Ah, I get it. IDK. How do you pronounce it? IDK. Iflor adjusted the candle flame, letting the dim yellow light completely shine on the boy's face. Her pale golden pupils became increasingly indifferent, just like an emotionless audience. Suddenly, rings after rings of faint light appeared in those pale golden vertical pupils. It seemed to form a vortex and constricted a maze. In his stupor, Derrick felt himself drifting away into the endless darkness and countless bright colors. At this moment, he suddenly became clear-headed. He felt that if something had ingeniously caught him in the state of reverie. He saw the flickering yellow candlelight, and Alfir sitting across him with her pale gold vertical pupils. In a corner shadow, a grizzling chief, Elder Colin Iliad, walked up. After nodding to the chief, Iflor asked Derrick, "What have you been doing all this time?" Right? Iflor? Derrick remembered his training and maintained the same state of mind he had before. "I don't know. I've always been in a daze, as if I was in a dream. Only occasionally will I have clearness of mind." At the same time as his reply, 2 complex dark green symbols appeared in Demon Hunter Colin's eyes. Iolfer confirmed, "Do you know that you had a conflict with Dark Regnants? I only remember that there was fighting. I felt like I had seen a man hanging upside down on a cross and a man in a pointed hat and a crystal monocle." Yes, I saw. So this man is dressed up. So Amon is dressed up like a wizard. That's what I'm getting. I felt like I had seen a man hanging upside down, that's the true creator, on a cross, and a man in a pointed hat and a crystal monocle. Yes, I saw him back at the dungeon. He had opened his mouth and spoke with a smile. Derrick told a long story. Iolflor looked at the chief impressed. What did he say? I can't remember. I can only remember one thing. He said with a smile, "Fallen creator, true creator, shepherd." Derrick almost failed to control his excitement. He had taken such a risk to tell the chief in the name of the fallen creator and that a shepherd was suspicious. The fallen creator, the true creator, it matches with the content of the mirrors at the bottom of the temple. Colin nodded slightly and whispered a frown. Shepherd. And then Alfred's voice remained abnormally gentle. Derrick answered in his stupor. After that, they clashed and there was a lot of light, very bright lights. Then I woke up and kept coughing. The dark green symbols in Colin's eyes didn't fade this entire time as he had motioned for Evelyn to ask about the details. Derrick answered, "My goat, my lord, praise the He definitely ate the mushroom, guys. I get it now. Someone slow mode Romero. No, he's chill. He's chill. He gets a pass. He gets a pass, guys. Derrick answered selectively, and he had pushed the blame onto Amon. According to his script, he claimed amnesia on anything that went beyond that. Finally, Floor asked, "Where did you get the axe? Where did you get the Sun Pathways potion formula?" "I bought the axe from an underground market. That person was Mass, and I could only tell that he was Mel. The Sun Pathway potion formula was left to me by my parents. They had discovered it during an expedition," Derrick answered confidently. "These were points of suspicion that had always been there, so the hangman man had assumed that they were bound to ask them while he questioned. Therefore, he had made Derrick to repeatedly rehearse the answers. Although the City of Silver's underground market was semi-open, there were still people who tried to conceal their identities for a variety of reasons. This provided the best explanation for Derrick." After Floor finished seriously listening to him, she turned her head sideways to Demon Hunter Colin and said, "He's not lying. There's no way he can lie. I'm using the powers of Glory Crown." How are they not detecting these lies? What is he using? Oh, is it because Klein's angel cleansed him? Big Bro Alger? Literally Big Bro Alger that's always glazing Klein. It's the Fool's Angel, right? Yeah, it's the Fool's Angel. That's what I'm thinking. So, okay, it's like, got it. It's okay, I got it. It's like his aura is like concealing it, right? It's concealing his, like, the detection, right? I get it. Because the angel is like a higher sequence, and like the angel is like cleansing Derrick. I assume Floor is a lower sequence than the angel, right? Or like in terms of mysticism, and like that's why she can't like penetrate the angel's barrier. The paper angel baby. Yeah, I get it. Okay, now I get it. I was like, how the fuck are they not detecting all these lies? He's not lying. There's no way he can lie. I'm using the powers of Glory Crown. Colin nodded his head and said, "In this state, he doesn't show any traces of evil, degeneration, or corruption. Discovering these traits was a special ability of a demon hunter. As a high sequence job, not high enough for Klein. As a high sequence job, demon hunters were the best at concealing their movements and intentions, making it impossible for them to be detected by targets who could foretell danger. Therefore, every demon hunter was a devil's nemesis." After some thought, Colin got up and left the room. He said to the shadow in the corner outside, "I'll release Derrick later. I think he's fine for the time being. However, secretly monitoring him for a while, if Amon is able to produce 2 avatars, he might even be able to create a 3rd. "Yes, Chief," the shadow responded respectfully. After Derrick woke up, the interrogation chamber was empty, with only information informing him that he was free to leave. He secretly heaved a sigh of relief, and he began to walk out. While doing so, he thought of Mr. Fool's hangman's advice. You can relax just like that, and he ended up careless. The secret surveillance will definitely continue for some time, otherwise your chief is lacking. Yes, I can't even recite the honorific name of Mr. Fool anymore for the time being. Derrick muttered to himself as he walked down the spiral staircase. As he walked, he suddenly saw a familiar figure dressed in a purple striped black robe. It was the beautiful shepherd, Elder Lovia. Her pale gray eyes swept over Derrick, and a gentle smile appeared on her face. Nah, man, she's sus. Back in her room with an indifferent expression, Lovia walked to the desk and unfolded a piece of parchment that was made from leather. Her left hand pinched the index finger of her right hand and snapped the tip of her fingers. However, not a single drop of blood dripped. It was as if her blood had been gathered on the surface of her finger. With the finger, she drew a complex symbol on the piece of paper. It was made up of pupilless eyes, which represented secrecy, and contorted lines, which represented change. After careful examination, she wrapped the fingers with a piece of paper, stuffed it in her mouth, bit on it noisily before swallowing it all. With only 4 fingers left, flesh and blood suddenly squirmed. What? With only 4 fingers left, flesh and blood suddenly squirmed around the wound on her right palm. It quickly grew into a new index finger, one that looked slightly pale. She lowered her head, looked at her palm, and whispered a phrase. How the f did she know the Fool? What? That's so. They got the finger. So I was under the assumption that they probably killed people, but like we know there's no people out there, right? So the fingers came from her. So the fingers came from Lovia, Elder Lovia. Elotim is just a right of grotesque and cool. Praise the Lord. Praise the Almighty. That's gross, dude. I mean, she kind of freaky. She's still kind of... I take her out on a nice date. I'll set up. You know, I invite her for some, like, boba. You know, like, you want to go buy a salad? You want to hang out? You know, I can fix her. I can fix her. She ain't gotta know. She don't gotta know. Let's pause and let's keep reading. Chapter 401 is called Divine Epiphany. Backland in the basement that resembled a temple, Mr. A? Yeah, I agree with you. Totally. Wait, we're getting Mr. A. We haven't heard of Mr. A since, like, Volume 1. And Mr. Z, right? These were the... one of them was allegedly from, like, the Aurora Order. But that's all I remember. Back in my days, if dinner was cold... No. I'm not even going to read that out loud, Kami. You're going to get me in trouble for saying that. Backland in the basement that resembled the temple, Mr. A, dressed in a hooded black robe, motionlessly, quietly knelt in front of a figure of the hangman giant for an extended period of time. Suddenly, he pricked up his ears as if he was listening to something. After a short pause, Mr. A's hand jerked up, and he snapped his right index finger with his left palm. He stuffed the bloody fingers into his mouth and munched on it like he was eating snacks, making crunchy sounds. Gulp. Mr. A's throat wiggled and he swallowed his gnawed fingers in his stomach. His body suddenly trembled as if he was being grabbed and shaken by an invisible figure. In this state, Mr. A stretched out his... Is Mr. A Amon? What? No, it's not him. Mr. A's throat wiggled and he swallowed his gnawed fingers into his stomach. His body suddenly trembled as if he was being grabbed and shaken by an invisible figure. In this state, Mr. A stretched out his right hand and used the blood from his wound to write wounds on the ground. Those words were written in neither Jotun or Dragon, which could stir the powers of nature, nor was it in Hermes, which was used for sacrificial rituals. Instead, these were written in the most ordinary and commonplace language, Loan. The scarlet color quickly gathered together, and the words pieced together into a few sentences. Found. The fool that doesn't... What? The fool... Mr. A has to be Amon. This has to be... Because Amon just... He was like... What was it? Like a few streams ago? Like, the fool, right? And Mr. A has been set up since Volume 1, and Mr. Z has been set up. The fool that doesn't belong to this era, the mysterious ruler above the great fog, the king of yellow and black who wields Galuk, adores and devotees in Backland. After the end of the divine epiphany, Mr. A stopped trembling and a new finger grew out of his squirming wound. What the fuck, dude? Ew, they're growing like mushrooms, dude. That's gross. Ew. He lowered his head and carefully read the words he had just written. The corners of his mouth curled up in the shadows. By your divine revelation, Mr. A humbly prostrated as though he had found the meaning of his existence once again. Oh, okay. All right. City of Silver at Mr. A has to be Amon. That's so on the nose, bro. Locking in, bro. It's him. City of Silver at the top of the spire. Lovia walked to the window, looked down at the candlelight in the darkness. Her expression soft. Hold up. Lovia, let me reread this. Hold up. Lovia walked to the window and looked down to the candlelight in the darkness. Her expression softened. After an unknown period of time, she heard a knock at the door. Your Excellency. Olivia turned around with an alacrity and greeted the visitor with a smile. The door opened backwards automatically. The person standing outside was none other than demon hunter Colin Iliad. He was draped with a brown coat and a leather belt with secret compartments around his waist. How did you even come to that conclusion? What conclusion? What do you mean? Mr. A has been, like... They mentioned Mr. A since Volume 1. And then they mentioned Mr. Z since Volume 1. And I told you, I remember I mentioned, like, what if, like, these acronyms, right? Like, the alphabetical figures, like, there's probably, like, a Mr., Mrs., A to Z. I was like, maybe they're part of, like, the secret organization. And the only other person that has learned of the full outside of the Tarot Club is, Amon. Because he tried to go in, But then we saw like the, right? We'll see. We'll see. We'll see what happens. The door opened backwards automatically. The person standing outside was none other than demon hunter Colin Iliad. He was draped with a brown coat and leather belt with secret compartments around his waist. Lovia, the abnormality of his exploratory team had been verified. Colin described plainly, as captain, regardless of your condition, you have to stay in the dungeon for 3 days and undergo the glory crown's cleansing. You should know that this is a rule. Yeah, I know he's doing the same thing with like the fingers, right? Oh, and then maybe Lovia is like Miss L? Thinking out loud? Has this hearing always been here in such an unusual bright color as well? What? Wait, what? I don't know if they've used the power. Bro, read my comment. What did you say? The true creator heard Derrick say Klein's name, and he told all his believers the name. Amon doesn't know Klein's complete honorific name. Wait, I gotta digest that. Hold up. The true creator heard Derrick say Klein's name, the fool, right? Like he heard the saying. Then he told all his believers the name. Amon doesn't know Klein's complete honorific name. Amon only knows the full, not the three. Like he doesn't. Okay, so he doesn't know the full like honorific. He just knows the full. The true creator knows the three, right? Because he heard Derrick say it. Oh, wait a minute. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Amon is sided with the true creator. Hold up, that pieces it together. So, bro, I can, like, in my head, I'm just imagining the true creator having his own terror club gathering. Amon and like Lovia are like his right side and his left side henchmen. Keep reading, GG. Okay, let's keep going. I don't know. You know what? Maybe we don't know if he knows the 3 lines. What? No, he would know, because remember he heard Derrick say it when he was locked up. Easy, skip. Hold up. It was sort out. I know. Oh, sort out. You know what? Too much. There's too much going on. This series is so complicated sometimes, but I love it. Maybe my IQ just isn't that high to read it, but that's half the fun, man. I love it. Just keep cooking. Just keep always, bro. Head chef reporting for duty. Lovia, the abnormality of the explorer team has been verified. Colin described plainly. As captain, regardless of your condition, you have to stay in the dungeon for 3 days and undergo the glory clown's cleansing. You should know that this is the rule. Lovia didn't show the slightest hints or anger as he calmly smiled. I know. I've already made preparations to stay in the dungeon for a long time. When it's over, I can accept my arrangements, even if you guys still don't trust me. As she spoke, she had walked to the door and went past Demon Hunter Colin while facing him. Colin turned silently. I scrolled down too much. Colin turned silently and followed her down the wing steps. Halfway there, they heard heart-wrenching cries and shouts. Is it starting again? Lovia asked with a slightly confused expression. Colin nodded and replied in a low voice. Yes, this is a destiny that we can't escape from. At this moment, in a large hall in the middle levels of the spire, the members of the exploratory team and the few residents of the city of Silver who had just been corrupted were pressed down to the ground by seemingly corrupted holy lusters. They were unable to move, as though they were carrying a huge mountain on their backs. A couple in their 40s with dark skin held a sword with complicated patterns as they walked up to a young man in his early 20s. The young man's body had already turned into a meat slush, but his head was still intact. Only a long... What? Only a long, thin, blood-red tendril grew out of it? Seeing the couple approaching, he shouted in horror, Dad, Mom, what are you doing? Didn't we agree to eat grilled iron scorpions together tonight? Dad, Mom, I caught a lot of iron scorpions for you. What the fuck am I reading? The couple couldn't bear it any longer, turned their heads to the side, but they raised a sword in their hand high into the sky. After 2 stabbing sounds rang, the young man stopped his wailing. He twitched first, then he completely lost all signs of life. Elsewhere, a young girl who was around 10 years old raised her sword with a complicated patterns on it. Tears were streaming down her face as she stabbed her elder sister. Nah, this is... I can't read this, man. This is fucked up. It's the curse. Yeah, where it's like a relative has to like kill him, right? The girl lying on the ground suddenly laughed and gently said, "From today onwards, you'll have to live your own life. Don't be naive anymore." The girl immediately cried until her vision turned into a blur and the sword in her hand stopped in midair. However, a strong palm pressed the back of her hand, pushing it forward. Oof. This girl was left stunned as though she couldn't hear or see anything. This was the ancient curse that everyone in the City of Silver was under. They have to kill their own blood relatives to prevent them from turning into terrifying and strange evil spirits after their death. Therefore, even though... Yeah, I was going to say this. So who killed Dark? The guy monitoring them, right? So was the guy monitoring one of Dark's relative? Oh, right here. Therefore, even though Dark had completely mutated into a monster and was corrupted by an unknown existence, having no value in interrogating, the Shadow Observer didn't dare to kill him on the spot. Instead, he tried his best to restrain the monster and bring it back to the spire. Oh, to wait for his parents. Otherwise, the situation would have only become worse. Let's continue from right here. Instead, he tried his best to restrain the monster, bring it back to the spire to wait for his parents. Otherwise, the situation would only become worse. The exploratory team members were currently receiving the same treatment that they had been subjected to, a process that remained unchanged for more than 2,000 years. Although no one knew if they would mutate after dying in this state, no one dared to gamble on it. Fortunately, the City of Silver didn't have a large population, and all of them lived in the same era. Under the arrangements of the upper echelon for each generation, there were quite a few people who were related to each other by blood. Even if they were limited by the 3 generations, they would still be able to find quite a few. Because of this, the Beyonder in charge of setting up a patrol team would first have to consider the matter of blood ties in order to prevent unexpected situations from occurring. The requirements for exploratory teams weren't that strict because of their missions were always to invade deep into the darkness and stay far away from the City of Silver. Even if they died or mutated, it wouldn't affect everyone's safety. Once a resident no longer had blood relatives within 3 generations, they would be placed under strict surveillances, and as soon as he became seriously ill or visibly aged, he would be exiled into the depths of darkness away from the City of Silver. Damn. When the previous captain of the exploratory team, Udell, was isolated in the dungeon, there were actually 3 elders in the spire. However, the one who took action was Chief Colin Iliad in the end. Otherwise, they could only attempt a seal. This was because Udell was the older brother of his direct kin. Shepherd Lavia and Demon Hunter Colin silently entered the bottom level of the spire. Accompanied by a few Dawn Paladins, they arrived at the depths of the dungeon. Soon, both of them stopped outside a cell. The Dawn Paladins dispersed themselves a distance away. Without any abnormalities, she walked into a room with a single bed, a table, and a single candle and a moderate pace. Before the metal door closed, she turned around and looked at Demon Hunter Colin with her pale gray eyes. Your Excellency, you once told me that when the residents of the City of Silver leave this place and die in the depths of the darkness, they wouldn't immediately turn into evil spirits. A few days have passed. Therefore, the other members of the exploratory team have plenty of time to put open a distance from them. Colin nodded and expressed his agreement. Lovia closed her eyes, revealing a sad smile. In expiration 2 months ago, a team member died in front of me. I pretended to be separated from the rest of the team. I waited there for 5 days, but he didn't turn into an evil spirit. Demon Hunter Colin looked at her in silence, not saying anything until the metal door closed with a clang and the seal took shape. Let's continue. In the ancient palace above the Great Fog, after waiting for a while, Clang was finally relieved when he saw that there were no changes to the crimson star which symbolized the sun. He should have succeeded. He rubbed his temples, wrapped his spirituality around his body, and descended back into the real world. As soon as he felt the presence of his body, Klein experienced a bitter cold. He sneezed, and he quickly removed the wall of spirituality and crawled back into bed. Sadly, his bed was already ice cold. Fortunately, my body receives a certain degree of protection after entering the gray fog. Otherwise, I would probably catch a cold tomorrow. Klein wrapped himself tightly with his blanket inside. The current state he was in reminded him of a joke, and he heard his previous life. Warmth is basically gained by vibration. Before his bed warmed up again, he could only let his mind wander as he thought about all sorts of matters. Yes, there's no pressing matter for me recently. The magician's rules have been concluded. Even if I don't challenge them impossible and only engage in acting normally, I should be able to digest the potion around New Year's. My next task is to collect the Beyonder ingredients for the Faceless Potion and save up the necessary funds. But that's not something I can rush. The taunt strings in Klein's mind gradually softened, and he suddenly had the thought of resting for 2 to 3 days. As the bed warmed, he fell asleep without realizing it. When he woke up, he heard the church bells ringing 8 times. Klein stretched out his arm, felt the cold, and silently withdrew it. It seems to have turned cold again today. There's nothing pertinent to do, it seems I can just continue sleeping in. Relaxed, he closed his eyes again. But after a while, he heard his stomach growling and felt the bulging in his lower abdomen. Life is full of hard choices, Klein murmured. After 10 minutes or so of struggling between the two feelings, he finally gave up, got up and rushed to the bathroom next. After changing his clothes and washing up, he went down the first floor and took out some ingredients to cook penne potter noodles. This time he didn't intend to use the meat sauce that he bought, but instead he wanted to try the meat paste he had made 2 days ago. This was the meat paste he had carefully chosen from the ingredients based on his memories. Although there were ultimately differences in the ingredients between the two worlds, preventing him from fully replicating the authentic taste, Klein still found it pretty good after sampling it. It wasn't long before he had a bowl of penne potter noodles with condiments and meat paste. He found it really wonderful. He found it a really wonderful morning. Keeping it with the tradition of this world, he browsed through the newspapers as he ate, and he checked if Eye of Wisdom had placed at first. Based on his late night thoughts from yesterday, Klein decided to have fun today, so he considered whether he should get a concert, an opera, or a play. The tickets to many of the music halls in the Westboro, Hillstonboro, and Sherwoodboro are all at least 6 solely, and if it's a famous musician, then they would even be on the order of pounds. Music halls specifically catered to common folk range from 6 to 9 pence. Those that are open to the poor with money to spare in Eastboro only need 1 pence. Klein flipped through the relevant materials to select his choice of entertainment for the day. At that moment, he heard the doorbell ring. Ding dong. Okay, let's pause the update. I see you guys talking about I see what you guys are talking about. Hold up. Let me catch up. Hold up. Let me just quickly update this. You guys ready? Let's do one more chapter. Chapter 402 is called, wait for it, Dinging? Why is it called Dinging? Okay. Who is it? Klein jerked his head and looked at the door. He felt as if he was suffering from an illness, the fear of hearing the doorbell ring with an identical to the symptoms he had experienced on Earth. Being afraid of his cell phone's ringing, putting down... Cell phone? He felt as if he was suffering from an illness. The fear of hearing the doorbell ring was identical to the symptoms he had experienced on Earth. Being afraid of his cell phone ringing, putting down the newspaper I thought we were back on Earth for a second. Putting down the newspaper and magazine, he looked at the empty plate which had been cleaned even of its seasonings. Then he stood up and he walked to the door. Before he got hold of his candle, he already knew that it was Dr. Aaron outside. Do you need to work? Klein mumbled as he opened the door. Good morning, Aaron. The fog is gray today, he smiled. One would say like a gray fog. I understood that reference. Aaron was still wearing his cold expression, but there was an additional sense of anxiety and fear written on his face. He nudged his gold-rimmed spectacles and said, without bothering the great, bluntly said, Sherlock, I had another dream. Let me see if I can pronounce it right this first time. Because people said it's easy. I dreamt of Will Ossipton again. I got it? Ossipton. Boss music fight again? Which one? Boss colors again? Ah. Klein almost froze. That's right. That's not right. The real paper crane is with me. Ossipton. Wait, so it wasn't the paper crane. That's not right. The real paper crane is with me above the gray fog, while the one I folded is with the nighthawks. You're still able to dream Will Ossipton with a paper crane, which was poorly folded by a nighthawk. That's not scientific. No, that's not mystic. Klein became serious and asked, the same dream? No, it's not that scary this time. Aaron became a little calmer. I dreamt about the grim cemetery. You know of it, right? Klein answered simply. Back then, he had caught a group of students and a mysticism enthusiast who was a complete beginner, Kapuski, engaged in a spiritual dance outside Grim Cemetery. He later received another couple... Oh, I forgot he has a second one. I forgot a little bit. I forgot he has a second copper whistle. Klein answered simply. Back then, he had caught a group of students and a mysticism enthusiast who was a complete beginner, Cosby engaging in a spiritual dance outside Grim Cemetery. He later received another couple whistle, while from the latter, which could be used to summon a messenger. Aaron drew a deep breath of cold air and continued, I dream of the woods outside the grim cemetery. I dreamed of a birch tree which had layers of dark peeled off its trunk. Will Asupten was sitting underneath that tree looking at me quietly. And then Klein pressed. Aaron shook his head. The dream ended there. With a strange matter, has Dr. Aaron dream got nothing to do with the paper crane? No, if it wasn't related, then there wouldn't have been a situation where the dream changed after the paper crane was switched. So it's like, it's on him now. Furthermore, I also performed a divination using the paper crane above the gray fog and obtained the corresponding revelations. Klein said in a measured voice, this is no longer within my scope of understanding. What do you want from me, Aaron? Aaron breathed out warmth air that dispersed into a white mist. I want to pay a visit to the area outside the grim cemetery. I want to do it now. While it's still daytime, can you protect me? I'll pay you £1. Heading over to the place that appeared in his dream now, he probably wouldn't have encountered anything too strange during the day. Klein thought for a moment and said, I accept this request, but I suggest that you go back to the same cathedral and tell your dream to the bishop you're familiar with. Aaron agreed, then said doubtfully, why do you always suggest that I go to the cathedral? I know you've explained it before in a very logical way, that if mystical powers exist in this world, then the churches which have been leading humanity must be the ones with the strongest mystical powers. And if there are none, then they at least can go to the church to get psychological comfort and corresponding connections. However, why do you suggest that I go to the cathedral for something that isn't considered too strange? Klein considered for 2 seconds and replied seriously, I'm a detective. I've come into contact with lots of unusual things, so I understand the special nature of the church. I also know when to ask for help. Really? Aaron listened with a serious expression. The corners of Klein's mouth curled up. Just kidding. Take it easy, Aaron. I'm going to change my clothes first, and also do the dishes. Having chatted with Aaron at the door for a long time without his thick coat, he turned rather stiff and cold from the cold winds. Taking this opportunity, Klein went to the washroom, went above the gray fog in a divine degree of danger for the mission. He received the answer that there was almost no risk. If he received a revelation indicating that this was dangerous, his plan was to reject the mission using the Church of the Evernight Goddess as an excuse. Hillstonborough, Myred Star Cathedral. Sherlock, why don't you hire a maid? As a great detective, you can afford to have several servants, Aaron asked, as Aileen climbed to the Church of the Evernight Goddess, largest cathedral in Hillstonborough. This was something that he had wanted to ask while in the carriage, but he had never found the opportunity to change the subject. Klein sighed and said heavily, Aaron, let me tell you a story. There was a detective who hired 2 maids, a cook and assistant, and he was doing pretty well, but one day he took over a case and successfully homed in on the murderer, who had a very savage and cruel man. He sneaked into the detective's house with the intention of revenge. The detective was a fighting expert, and in the end, he was only slightly injured, but 2 of his servants died because of him. Do you get it, Aaron? I see. Aaron voice had a hint of empathy. Sherlock, I never knew that you had such an experience. No, the main character has nothing to do with me. I've just made up a story. It's not like I can tell you directly that I'm involved in many strange and mystical matters, and that there will always be unspeakable secrets in my house, so that it'd be best I don't hire any servants. Klein looked forward and let out a long sigh. The cleaning of his home was done twice a week, mostly by Miss Stelline Samir's maid. She was responsible for the most basic cleaning procedures, and each cleaning cost 1 soldi. While they were talking, the 2 of them had already entered the hall of the Myred Star Cathedral. It was dark, quiet, and devoid of candles, completely in line with the Church of the Evernight Goddess style. At this very moment, from the hall was an altar engraved with a dark sacred emblem. The stars were inlaid with self-illuminating pearls, and the crimson moons were made of rubies. The rest of the halls, rubies, and we've had an emerald. I understood that Pokemon reference. Cuttlefish definitely played OG Pokemon back in the day. It was dark, quiet, and devoid of candles, completely in line with the Church of the Evernight Goddess. At the very front of the hall was an altar engraved with a dark sacred emblem. The stars, which inlaid with self-illuminating pearls, and the crimson moon was made of rubies. The rest of the hall was filled with the darkness of the night. With a single glance, he could see that the place was filled with specks of light as the crimson light illuminated the area, making the place extremely sacred. But Klein felt that this was inferior to the design using a St. Selena's Cathedral in Tingen. That hall was pitch black with only light penetrating from the front through the fist-sized holes. It resembled a star sky, making one feel awe from the bottom of one's heart. However, there's a problem with this kind of design. At night, the effect would be gone. Klein took a seat at random, took off his half-top hat, and leaned on his black hardwood cane, with Aaron continuing down the aisle to the confessional in search of the bishop. Sitting in such a large hall and looking at the people who were concentrating on praying, Klein's heart suddenly became tranquil. Come to think of it, this is only my 3rd time entering the Goddess Cathedral. He let out a self-deprecating laugh. Inside the Cathedral of Serenity and Winter County, Leonard... Oh! POV change. Hold up. Inside the Cathedral of Serenity at Winter County, Leonard... Oh, wait, no. Leonard. Leonard. Wait, no. Leonard. Leonard Mitchell put on his black windbreaker and red gloves and entered the room of the high-ranking Decon, Crescent Sesmere. Oh, he's back. Congratulations, you have a... Yo, you made it, dude. Oh, we're so... Oh, my God. He's a red glove. Oh, I hit my funny bone, bro. I got excited. Oh, they're gonna send Leonard on a case and backland in this volume. Bro, sign me up, bro. They don't just hype up our boy being a Red Glove member and they don't send him the backland where freaking Klein is. Oh, inside the Cathedral of Serenity at Winter County, Leonard, I keep seeing Leonard, bro. I read Leon and then I gotta stop that. So he became a high-ranking Decon. Whoa, I'm lost my place. Congratulations, you have officially become a Red Glove. May the goddess bless you. Sismir drew a crimson moon on his chest. He still had his mouth covered with his high collar. Praise the lady, the honor is mine. Leonard raised his right hand and gestured 4 points in a clockwise fashion. Sismir didn't say anything else and went straight to the point. According to your request, I place you in Sost's team. He's a soul this is a new one. He's a soul ossurer and possesses a mystical item. I've already ordered someone to prepare a beyonder weapon for you that you'll need. Your team will be in charge of a devil summoning case, and you'll take into consideration certain rules to perform the search. For example, cases that have happened consecutively in Backland and matters related to a tarot ritual. Did I not just say that or did I not say that? Soest? Got it. Leonard. Veg, it's cooler. It is cooler. But it's Leonard. Yes, Reverend Sesmir. Leonard held no objections towards the mission. This will be the beginning of my revenge, he silently said to himself. I love how, like, Klein and Leonard both have their eyes set on revenge. Like, they're both aiming for Ins Zungwil. Like, I've seen official art. I've seen official art on Leonard. I remember you guys sent me official art and he had a red glove, and I'm like, holy shit, he becomes a Red Glove member. Like, I remember instantly thinking that. But it's so cool. Like, I know in my heart they will eventually, like, team up when they're, like, hunting down Inzingwil. Or, like, some way, shape, or form, they're gonna, like, team up together and get revenge in honor of our beautiful, loving captain. God rest his soul, right? It has to happen. This will be the beginning of my revenge, he suddenly said to himself. Westboro, on the periphery of Grim Cemetery, Klein accompanied Dr. Aaron as they took quite a while to walk around the nearby woods, coughing from time to time as a result of the falling grayish-white dust. Maybe there isn't a tree like that. Dreams can fully reflect reality. Towards the end of the search, even Aaron was feeling a little uncertain himself. Fortunately, I'm good at finding things, Klein pointed with his cane and said, let's take a look over there and make it our final effort. Alright, Aaron grasped for a breath of air. After a short walk, Aaron suddenly stopped and said, while pointing diagonally ahead, over there. About a dozen meters away, a birch tree with a strip of bark around its trunk stripped off stood there quietly as if it was waiting for them. It's identical to the one in my dream, Aaron said with conviction. Klein smiled and said with some vigilance, but there's no Will Ossipton. Aaron got close to the birch tree, frowned for a while, and then suddenly pointed to the side of the tree and said, back then, Will Ossipton was sitting here, and he was pointing to the mud below him with his finger. Pointing to the mud below him, Klein stood at the side, looking down at the almost unwilted grass. You want to dig it up. Aaron nodded. We've already found this place, so we should confirm what's here. What are we gonna find? Sherlock got to the cemetery and borrowed 2 shovels. It's better if I stay here. You go to the cemetery. I'm worried something might happen to you, Klein said cautiously. All right. Aaron didn't refuse, and he immediately left the forest. After a while, after offering some money, he returned with 3 shovels and a tomb keeper, and they began to dig. While Klein was digging, he suddenly smelled something familiar. As As a soul on the surface, part of the things below were gradually exposed. It was the body of a child that was already greatly rotten. His skin and flesh looked as if they were about to melt, and many bugs crawled in and out of the nose of his mouth. Clang. The shovel fell from Aaron's hand and hit the rock. He pointed to the legs of the corpse, his mouth moving frantically, but he was unable to say a word. Klein endured the nausea and looked closely, discovering that the child's Is it Will? What the fuck? What the fuck? What the fuck? Klein endured the nausea and looked closely, discovering that the child's left leg was obviously missing its lower half. At the same time, Aaron took 2 steps back and fell to the ground, shouting sharply, Will Ossipton, Will Ossipton. It was Will Ossipton's corpse. Bro, what the fuck? Bro, what? What happened? Oh, I got a little emotional. What the fuck? This is a child, man. Damn. He's just a kid, dude. Yeah, man, effing chat. What was it? The Call of Duty meme? F to pay respect. Shit, man. Yeah, man. We really said one more chapter and got hit with this. I don't know how to feel about that, man. That was sad. Like, bro. Well, that was good. That was a good. This is a good stream. Look, I gotta apologize. Bro, only 80 chapters finished the second volume. That hypes me up, man. I don't give a fuck that the kid's dead anymore. I don't care. No, I'm sorry. No, that messed me up. I'm like trying to like not think about that, man. I don't care about that anymore. I'm shooting for the end. No, I'm kidding. No, that's messed up though, bro. Like, what the? I thought this dude was set up to be like some big bad endgame threat, like with Megoose's baby. Man, it's 4 a.m. Gotta sleep. See ya. Oh, I'm sorry, man. Yeah, I'm sorry. Like, I'm sorry. I know, like, when I'm streaming, it's really bad, like, for people, like, on EU time or, like, close to EU time. Sorry about that. Take care, man. But, yeah, sorry, man. I haven't been, I'm not in the right headspace today, so I decided to stream. Last minute short stream. I say short, but it's been almost 3 hours, and the recording is only an hour and 40. So I've clearly been stalling for, like, an hour, and I apologize for that. But I kind of, I kind of want to just take my time today. Time zones are crazy. If only we were all on the same time, that'd make life easier. Thanks for the stream regardless. No, thank you guys for tuning in, man. I'm telling you, we wouldn't be streaming wasn't for you guys. But look, I'm excited. I'm ready to see what happens. I'm telling you, I thought Will Ossipton was going to be like the next Megoose endgame. But I guess that's, not the case. My money in the next 80 chapters, some crazy thing is going to happen with Elder Livia. We might be able to fix her. We might not be able to fix her. I don't think we're going to be able to fix her. But we will do our best as we're reading and see if we can find a way to fix her along the way. But I think we're going to leave it there. And I know there's a few people. I see you guys on Twitch. I know some people have been tuning in. Don't think of all children babies as villains. I don't know, man. You know what kid I'm still waiting until they get brought up? Adamicio. I don't know how to feel about that kid. The one with the half monster trait. I don't know, man. He called Klein. He said Klein, like he called him deaf from the very beginning. Either he saw that he technically was a walking corpse, right? Technically, he was a teenager. Yeah, you're right. My goat. Fuck SS. A little team is all we need. Man, I mean, we did get a few new people tuning in because of SS. So thank you guys. Adamicio goated. We'll see what's going to happen with Adamicio. I'm excited. I was a little overwhelmed reading today. I got a little lost. Not a little bit. I got really lost in thought today. I apologize for that. We're going to recoup today. I'm not sure how it's going to work out. But me and Anime Wiz are going to attempt. Well, I won't say it. I'm pretty sure we're going to be able to do a volume 1 review. I have no idea how we're going to do it or breaking down. I got an hour to think this through. I've never done the collab, guys, so I'm kind of nervous. If you guys have any tips, let me know. Oh, wait, hold up. By the time this is up, I would have already done it with him. We've already done the review, but Adamiso's like, we'll see what's going to happen with him. So I'm going to leave you guys there. We potentially might be live again in a few hours if I don't hang out with Miss Izagiki. But for now, peace and have a beautiful day or night. All right, later, guys.